Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. I'm so glad you're here. What do we got going on in the markets today? Well, the Dow's up about 50 points. NASDAQ up about 90 points, having a little bit of an update. Now, we're sitting right on the 50-day moving average for the S&P. We're having a tug of war right now. Who's going to win, the bulls, the bears? My take is we're probably going to bounce a little bit higher before we head lower. Now, this is a very active week for the stock market, right? We have Apple Computer, big event tomorrow. Now, here's the thing. All right. So you got a handful of stocks, maybe 5 to 7 stocks that are pulling the market up because they're rallying, right? Things like Apple, things like Nvidia, but you're starting to see cracks. The cracks in these top stocks will also pull this market down. That's my take, that they will be the ones leading the market down. They led the market up, and they'll be the ones leading the market down. You see, it's only really a handful of stocks that have made this big move in the stock market this year. And these stocks are getting tired now unless there's another leadership group that's going to take over, and I don't see that coming along. I think the market's peaking out. I think we might get a little bounce up here before we head lower, sitting right on the 50-day, but we got a big event this week. We got the CPI number coming out. It's the inflation number. I think the inflation number will actually be kind of a little bit hot. They got it down from 9% to 3%. I think we're headed back up now. Price of oil headed back up. Inflation headed higher. This is just my take. Yours may be completely opposite. All right, let's get over to the real estate market now. Okay, so a lot of people were pushing back on my comment on last Friday, right? I said that I believe that it will be 500 ounces of silver will be enough to buy the average price house. Now, why do I say that? And I say that because back in 1980, it took 800 ounces of silver to buy the average price house. And I think it'll be a little bit less silver this time. That's my take, right? But people were pushing back. They go, well, Mike, 1980, the silver market, it was manipulated. And they would be correct, right? They'd be correct. A guy by the name of Nelson Bunker Hunt, right? He was obsessed with silver, if you will. Now, I stack a little bit of silver. I would not say I'm obsessed with it, but he was very obsessed with it. Anyways, he bought basically 200 million ounces. 200 million ounces. Now, that was half of the silver supply that was available at the time. And this drove this spike upwards. Went from like $5 an ounce up to $50 an ounce. I mean, he just had this rocket ship to the moon. His idea was to corner the silver market, if you will. Now, he was basically a very wealthy man back in the 60s, but he became the richest man in the world in 1977, all right? 1977, the richest man in the world. By 1988, he was bankrupt. Okay, he was indicted for conspiracy, mail fraud, perjury, all kinds of things. His life did not turn out very well, but he tried to corner the silver market. Well, what do we got going on in the real estate market today? We have corporations trying to corner the real estate market, the housing market, if you will. They find a neighborhood, like they pick certain neighborhoods, maybe a neighborhood in Atlanta, and they buy all the homes in that neighborhood. And if you want to buy into that neighborhood, you have to buy one of their homes. They try to pump up the value of the houses by cornering the market. Zillow tried to do this. Open Door, Redfin, they all pick certain neighborhoods and they try to corner that neighborhood, and they buy up every house. And if someone comes in and wants to buy a house, well, they have them to sell. They have them to buy, right? Now, but a lot of people, like I say, about what was 1980s was a big silver boom. So we're talking 40 years later, people are looking back at that where silver's half the price of those values. They're looking back 40 years later and saying, I'm crazy that it's not going to go that high again. It's going to go way past it this time. Someone will try to corner the market again. But when we look back on the real estate market 5-10 years down the road, and we say we're going to get back up to those prices in 2020, 2023, people are going to look at you like you're crazy. 2023 was when the market was manipulated, when the corporations, they tried to corner the market. That was a time where all the Airbnb people got into the housing market, and they tried to turn the housing market into hotels, into motels. That was a manipulated market. And they're going to laugh at you because prices will be about half what they are from here. Prices will come down by 50%. We're just close to the top still. Right now you can sell. I get that. It's the good time. And if you want to buy at the top, you better hurry up because the good times are running out. But this is a time that will be reflected on after this bubble pops, and this bubble will pop. Every bubble in the history of the world pops. Now, the bubble would have completely popped in 2008, but 2008, what happened? Well, the bubble was popping, right? We were down 34%, and then what happened? We couldn't handle the pain. So what did? We sent the Federal Reserve in there. Start printing the money. Print it. 20, 30 trillion dollars just since 2008 to pop up the bubble bigger. This is the biggest bubble in the history of the world when it comes to real estate, and this bubble will pop. And I'm telling you, be careful where you buy in. Now the bubble's going to pop, and it's going to pop, and we're going to come down about 50%. Now people think I'm crazy. I know this isn't a popular view, especially if you just bought your house. You would hate this point of view, but houses are going to pop. They're going to come down 50%. And don't be in too big a rush to come back in, because I believe you won't see these numbers at 2023 prices for at least a decade. It could be 2, 3, 4 decades. Look at Japan. Their homes went down by 80 to 90% back in the 80s. That was back in the 80s. They're still not up to where they were. They haven't hit the record price again. Now you go, but Mike, they're just going to print money. They're going to print money and make the houses go up even higher. They can't print money anymore. We have a big problem, very big problem. The money printing has caused this thing called inflation. Inflation has caused us to have to raise up the rates. The government's bankrupt. They can't even make the interest payments. They don't bring in enough money for the interest payments. The government is a zombie government, and pretty soon it's going to take every dollar of taxes just to pay the interest on the debt. Now, if that isn't scary, if that doesn't scare you, maybe you don't have a pulse, because this world is going to look a lot different 5 years from now. It's not going to be the same. Not going to be anywhere close. There's going to be big problems. There might be complete chaos. It's possible. Look at the bubbles are going to pop. The bubbles are going to pop. The housing bubble's going to pop. Airbnb people right now, Airbnb bubble is already popping. A lot of people invest in these Airbnb houses, right? They have 2, 3, 4, 5, some as many as 10 houses, some 20 houses, but they're sitting vacant. They can't get them rented out at the prices that they want. They've been outlawed in a lot of areas because a lot of areas think it's not a good idea to turn our housing market into a hotel. It's not zoned to be a hotel. You want people coming every week partying next to you, having a party house right next door. You bought a $2 million house and your next door neighbors in Airbnb are renting it out to partiers. You don't want that. A lot of neighborhoods have banned Airbnb, so the Airbnb market's going down like this. Most of the houses on Airbnb are sitting vacant, but some of them have tried to make them into long-term rentals, and that could be why the prices of rentals is coming down. Long-term rental prices are coming down. You can now rent houses cheaper than you could just a year ago. We're down year over year in the rental market. Now, that's fascinating to me, but a lot of people, a lot of the investors that tried to corner the market, they realizing it didn't work. Look at, they want to get out of the market. Starwood Properties selling 2,000 of their 3,000 homes that they own. 2/3 of their home, they're putting them onto the market. People are going, but Mike, other investors are going to come in and buy them. I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be the case. The investors, they're running for cover. They're running for the exits. They see the writing on the wall. Once we start spinning downward, it's going to be a long fall. And once we get down to 50% off, I would only be buying a home if you really are buying it for the long term. When I say long term, where you want to stay in that home as your forever home. A lot of people locked in right now at that 2.8%, right? That's their forever home. They're locked in. They're not going anywhere. They don't care if they go underwater by 100 grand, 500 grand, by $1 million. They don't care how far underwater they go. They're going to hold on. And that's great. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I'm going to hold on to my principal residence. I have it. I know I'm going to lose a bunch of equity in the next 2, 3, 4 years, which is going to be wiped out. I could sell now and go party with Billy Bob down in Mexico. He's on vacation. He's going to ride this thing out down there until the market crashes, till it comes in, till the bubble pops, and it will pop. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we're going through an experiment right now, and we're going to look back on this, and I mean, it's going to be funny in the history books to think about this bubble that we inflated with $30 trillion of printing. Think about the prices. Look at in my area, I'm a real estate broker. I'm selling houses for $2,000 a square foot, 1,200 square foot homes selling for $2.5 million. That's insanity. I'm telling you, it really is. It really is. So, but we've been living through an experiment, right? The experiment was, let's see if we can keep interest rates at 0% for 14 years, and then let's print $30 trillion on top of that. So we got interest rates at 0. We print $30 trillion. Let's see how big we can blow the bubble. And man, what an experiment it's been. We've got the bubble, the world's record. We did it. We did it. We got the world record right now. But look at this is going to change, right? I mean, we're going to look back on this in 10 years and just laugh. And when people, a lot of people are going to be buying houses as they go down. A lot of people are buying right up here, right? They're buying right at the top. They're buying right where Billy Bob got out at. Do you know a lot of people back in 1980 bought silver at $50? $50 an ounce in 1980. Where's it right now? It's half of that, 25, let's call it. Okay, so right now, 40 years later, it's still half of what they paid. But they're holding on because they were told it's going to go to 100. So they're holding on for that 100. I do believe silver's going to get to 100, actually probably a lot higher. But they're holding on. Do you realize the people that bought Bitcoin, $69,000 because they were told it's going to $1 million. You know the Moon Boys, it's going to $1 million. But they're holding on. 69,000 they bought it. Where's it at today? I don't know, 25, let's call it 25. They lost 2/3 of their money already. And it's probably going lower from here. I don't know. That's just my take. Your take may be that it's going to hit that million. Maybe you're a Moon Boy. Moon Boys, give me some comments. You guys have been a little quiet, the Moon Boys. Maybe they've all left my channel. I don't know. But we're going through this experiment right now, right? I mean, the investors, they tried to corner the housing market. They tried to lock it up. They tried to lock it up so that nobody can buy a house. You can only rent a house from them. A lot of home builders have gone with that program now. They're building whole communities not to sell because they don't have buyers that they can get out at with a profit. So what are they doing? Well, they're making them rentals. They're renting them to the people because they can't sell them at a profit. Instead of selling them at a loss, they decided to rent them. Well, that's an option, I suppose, and a lot of people are doing that with their houses. They get a job transfer, they're holding on to their house because they're locked into their forever home at 2.8%. Don't want to let that get away. They might have to come back and buy the house at half price or something. You got to hold on to that 2.8%. You want to keep it, right? But if you want to get a house, I mean, I'm not stopping you from buying up here at the top. People bought silver at 50. People bought Bitcoin at 69,000. You can buy a house at the top as long as you're holding on. I mean, but you're going to see it come down. Going to see it come down a lot, probably about 40, 50% from here, maybe even more. But 10 years from now, we're going to look back at this and it's going to be funny, just like the people looking at the big silver boom of Nelson Bunker Hunt, right? They look at it and they go, well, that was just a crazy time when he tried to corner the market. And they're going to look at real estate the same way. 2023 was just a crazy time when those corporations were buying and trying to corner the market. That was the era of the Airbnb people. Airbnb people got crushed, got destroyed. That's never going to happen again. So, it'll be fun to watch in 10 years when prices are half of what they are now. So be careful if you're buying up here. That's all I'm saying. I'm a real estate broker. I know I'm supposed to say it's a great time to buy, and you got Dave Ramsey saying that. You got Barbara Cochran saying that. But I don't think they're buying up here at these levels. I don't think they are, because they're smarter than that, but they're telling you it's a great time to buy because they're holding on. Their whole life is invested in real estate, so they have skin in the game. They want the prices to go up. Real estate agents tell you it's a great time to buy because they need help. There's no transactions right now. The market's locked up. It's pretty much frozen over right now. And when that happens, when it freezes over, that's a sign telling you that we're coming down. That's the only thing that can happen. The buyers can't afford to buy. Less than 20% of people out there can afford to buy a house. 80% of people right now cannot afford to buy a house. So what's going to happen? Are prices going to go up from here? The moon boys will tell you they're going to shoot up. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because they can't afford to buy. Cannot afford to buy. So what has to happen? Something's got to give, right? Maybe interest rates are coming back to zero. A lot of people think that. I don't believe that. I think mortgage rates going higher. And I think the one thing that can change the market is when the prices come down. And I do think they're going to come down by 40 or 50%. And I know I'm going to get the haters in the comments, and that's okay. I love comments. Builds my channel up, right? Well, anyways, I didn't mean to depress anyone on a Monday, but it's Monday. Everybody love Monday. Stock market's open. But if you like this stuff, give me the thumbs up, punch the subscribe button. If you really like it, share it with someone else, and maybe they can wake them up, enlighten them a little bit, if you will. Get out there, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.